Well, thanks for having me.
Well, Sam, I got to tell you, it's an honor to have you because I think you're pretty much a visionary, and I also think you're a
Thank
person
you.
who understands that some people are well, we're concerned. I mean, for instance, I'll give you a great example. I have Ethereum right now. Candidly, I was always shared it with our viewers. I made a lot of money with Bitcoin. I want my bank, traditional bank, to take my Ethereum. They won't. Can I go to FTX to put my Ethereum?
Yeah, you can. In addition to being an exchange, so a place where you can buy and sell Ethereum, it's also a place where you can hold Ethereum and other digital assets. You can earn interest on it, and you can access it from mobile, from website, and everything else.
Okay, now when I read through your testimony, it's clear that you are not anti-regulation, but you do feel that this industry can pretty much regulate itself. And yet we know that there's scoundrels in the industry. Sam, you know, kind of like Gretchen's law, the bad can drive out the good. How can you self-regulate, or should you just actually say to the, say, CFTC regulates?
I think it would make a ton of sense for some combination of CFTC and SEC to regulate the crypto industry. I think they're already market regulators. A lot of the regulation, frankly, ports over pretty cleanly the crypto ecosystem. There are a lot of pretty nasty points right now in the regulatory framework that I think have to be worked out around where various assets qualify. But I think that at its core, markets regulation by the CFTC, I think asset issuance regulation by the SEC make a ton of sense for the industry.
Well, that does make you a bit of an outlier. I think there's some people in the industry who basically enjoy the fact that it's not regulated, which therefore makes it far more difficult for us old mainstream folks to want to go with it. Your proposal would make it so that billions of people around the world will want to be involved with crypto. How do you get yours to be the prevalent view?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a lot of the goal is how do we get from where we are today to a truly mainstream global industry that has the consumer protection and the trust that people come used to. I think that you have people going back and forth on like this is a security, this isn't a security, and it has really grave regulatory implications right now. Where we need to get to, I think, is a world in which we say, look, some of these things have properties that are like traditional equities or securities. Some of them have properties that are like commodities. Instead of arguing about exactly what classification they should have, let's make sure that the sort of regulatory oversight that needs to be there is there, and that oversight that doesn't make sense isn't gumming up the industry. And so I think you look at asset issuances, right? Having kind of standard controls that you see like with equities around the supply, the issuance, burning of tokens would make a ton of sense, but not mandating that they fill out forms that one couldn't fill out as a decentralized token project. I think with stable coins, having oversight that they have what they say they have makes a lot of sense.
Well, do you think there's any chance that you could, let's say, be located in the United States, but right now you're still offshore? If you came to the United States, I think that would help your legitimacy greatly.
Yeah, totally agree. And we have a U.S. entity. We have a U.S. exchange that Americans can use, FTX US. I'm in Washington D.C. every month or so, talking with policymakers and regulators. We might eventually see more of a unified framework between the U.S. regulatory ecosystem and the international regulatory ecosystem. Right now, both sides are still working out what it's going to look like. So I think we're a little ways away from that, but I absolutely would like to see those come and converge and allow for the same entities to be able to operate onshore and offshore.
Well, I totally agree. Now, Sam, one last question. I am concerned when I see, for instance, uh, let's say the cryptos that Robinhood, a lot of people Robinhood are trading on. I see this Solana. I don't know it well. I see Doge. I wonder whether that my Ethereum or Bitcoin aren't hurt by the fact that a lot of people are getting taken in by what you and I may not think are real currencies. What do we do about the Doge? What do we do about the ones that are taking younger people's money and maybe not being anything you and I think would be as legitimate as what we talk about?
Totally. So, one side of this is you need to have competition, right? Like, you don't want to just have, regulators come in, choose the winner, choose the loser, and, force all of the market cap into things that might not make sense. On the other hand, you want to make sure that people aren't just buying into complete scams or things like that. I don't think it's a trivial thing to balance this. I think what I'd say is that there should be a lot more transparency around what these assets do, right? If you want to list a token, I think there should be a regulatory system of oversight here that says, look, list what the use cases of the token is, some statistics about its usage, list what its history is, list who holds the tokens to the extent that they're large owners and things like that. So that at least you can have transparency about what the goal even is of some of these tokens. And I think what you would find then is that there's a huge spectrum from some tokens. I think Salon is one example that have incredible use cases and can be really useful in the future of the world. I think others that might make absolutely no sense and have, they're nothing but a meme. And sort of everything in between there. In the end, I think transparency and making sure that there aren't outright scams or misstatements in a material way is probably the best thing that you can do there.
Well, Sam, I really got to thank you. You and I are of like minds about this. I wish more people listened to you. I think that this whole cryptocurrency issue would be, let's say, do well by the transparency that you're talking about. You're a good spokesperson for your organization and for the, let's say, the entire crypto world. Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder and CEO of FTX. Really great to have you on, Sam. I hope to have you back, okay?